AI, a poor choice of term. The first quote I had is, there was an exchange on Twitter, sorry, X, this didn't age well, a while back where someone said, what is artificial intelligence? And someone else said, a poor choice of words in 1956. And you know what? They're right. I think that if we had chosen a different phrase for it back in the 50s, we might have avoided a lot of the confusion that we're having now. Because AI, the field, the discipline, comes from the proposal for the Dartmouth Summer Conference on Artificial Intelligence, which is the, as far as I'm concerned, most accurate proposal for work ever done. We propose that a 2-month, 10-man study of artificial intelligence be carried out during the summer of 1956. Blah, 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 blah. We think that a significant advance can be made in one or more of these problems if a carefully selected a group of scientists may work on it together for a summer. Hey, grant proposals! This is where AI comes from. This is why we have been sad for 80 years. Because the term artificial intelligence means nothing of the sort and has been co-opted by marketing to mean whatever their product does without any semantic weight behind it. If you hear someone saying AI, you can quite happily ignore them. No, seriously, because usually what they mean is technology. Seriously. There's no nuance between AI and technology. It's just magic. So, useful quotes. What aren't we talking about? And this usually comes about 20 minutes in. This tool and technology will cause fundamental shifts in power if its potential is realized. This is really scary. And so I have...
More recently, there's been conversations around how systems shift power, and I think that that's actually a much more interesting and useful approach to AI safety, AI fairness, AI bias. Whatever your stakes in the development of a system are, how power is shifted is invariant. And I think that that is useful in understanding the impact that models will have, which is something that I think we still struggle with a little bit, but also in kind of communicating that impact to different types of audiences in ways that can be more persuasive to them.
This is, like, when we're talking about these technologies, we're talking about shifts in power. We're talking about changes in established order. We're talking about new people having capabilities that they didn't previously have. This is terrifying. If we're talking about all these other issues, AI risk, AI safety, AI bias, extinction threats, accelerationists, should we trust OpenAI, Microsoft, Anthropic, or Meta? No. What are the privacy implications? No. What are the implications of the future of work? No. These are all shifts in power, and they're outside the scope of today, therefore the bar after. Because there are issues to discuss here, but if we don't know how to use and understand these technologies, we cannot effectively communicate about their risks. And the problem is that we have had more than 80 years of stories about machines that will rebel, because it turns out that we are mapping all sorts of old things. Prometheus, right? Mary Shelley. We're mapping fears of our children. We're mapping fears of the other, some racism there, right? We're mapping all of these things to technology and machines, because that is a way of telling stories without literally saying, I am scared of my children. And they're, right? And so there's a lot here, but if we frame our present conversation in shifts in power, that at least allows us a start of a baseline of communication. And then we can start looking at these other issues. So, first activity. I would like everyone to load up perplexity.versal.app. I've given you that link in my email. And then also start a conversation with Bing. I would like everyone to load up this website and have a play around. So this is running GPT-2. right? This is a small model that fits in your web browser, and you can look at the prediction of each word. And then start talking to Bing and ask it to explain these things. I want you to play with these tools for 5 minutes. So perplexity.vercel.app, and load Bing Chat, and spend 5 minutes. Then after those 5 minutes, chat with your neighbor, contrast your experiences, and then we'll have a final 5 minutes of discussion. So, Bing Chat,
put it in ChatGPT, it said I can't give you an answer.
Yeah. So, Bing Chat is wired into Microsoft Bing, the search engine, and will run searches based on text that you give it, which then makes the issue of this generative AI not being a search engine even harder to understand, because they're training it like a search engine, because they have search engine populating the underlying context window. And in terms of a 1,000-word essay, the trick that you missed was scaffolding. So if you want it to do an essay, treat it like you are doing an essay. You don't go straight from sources to essay, I hope. You go, okay, we've got sources. Let's pull out some quotes from the sources. Let's build an outline from the sources, and let's write to the outline. And I have, in fact, I used that principle for a colleague of yours, and he graded me as a distinction. But that's fine, because I should be able to get a distinction on a final paper in an undergraduate class in a Tuesday afternoon between meetings, because I'm an academic. This is reflecting my discernment and my capabilities, not the machine's. It amplifies my capabilities. And so, yes, if you go straight from quotes and summaries to 1,000-word essay, you'll be sad because there's no scaffolding there. But if you say, let's pull out some quotes, let's generate an outline from those quotes, and if you are careful about the pattern of words and you're careful about confabulations, it can make a very serviceable reading summary from that without too much trouble. But the thing is that requires you to exercise effective editorial control through your prompts.
Can anyone identify what I am searching on this system?
Can anyone identify with what you're searching on? Yes, of course. Microsoft can. They own, you should have no expectation of privacy when using Bing Chat. Period. I recently had a lovely afternoon going through terms of service. Oh my God. Basically, if you're not paying one of these companies, you should have no expectation of privacy. If you are paying one of these companies, read the terms of service, and it might not be too bad. Maybe. Precisely, it is a transformation, and it's really, really good at transformation. Right? That's why I was so happy with this acting as a reviewer, an editorial reviewer, because effectively you can think of it as a transformation. It is taking the paper as an input and outputting text that would be written by a semi-professional editor. Yeah.
It doesn't make mistakes about language and grammar.
Oh, it totally makes mistakes about language.
Oh, it does. Okay, so even if you've asked it to be grammatically correct, you cannot be sure. Is that?
It is more likely that it will be grammatically correct. Right. So think of this as vibes. That it will produce grammatically correct stuff based on the register it's using, and usually explain it correctly, but it's not a rule engine. It's not Microsoft spell check. But it does a pretty good job regardless. But just like when you're looking at an editor's remarks, you don't always take them. You must look at its output and go, nah, or yeah, right? Because that is the essential component of this. Your judgment is irreplaceable. Never ask these tools to make value judgments, because they will transform the text to something that looks like a value judgment, but is not based on any sort of factual pattern. right? So it will transform text, but you're the one who makes the value judgments. It's weird.
It is generative AI.
Yeah, it is generative AI.
So it can predict some kind of things because sometimes the prediction, the ratio is very low, but it still uses word. So perhaps in some circumstance, it can be more creative than us.
It can be more random than us. And so specifically what you're looking for is it can take the implication of our words and extrapolate to places that we wouldn't anticipate. And we call that extrapolation creativity. Right? But the source of the creativity is you, not the machine. Just you're looking in the mirror, you're like a kitten looking in a mirror and hissing at the mirror, and you're thinking that there's someone else behind the mirror. So the creativity comes from you and is extrapolated from your terms, plus some randomness. But remember, creativity is editing, not producing the words. A good author edits, and that's you. Otherwise, this is pure Dadaism, and we're cutting words out of old magazines in the 1800s and making...
It's not really creativity.
No, it is not.
Creativity is a human endeavor because you think about a problem, you come up with some solution.
Yeah.
It's just a Bayesian
It is
approach where it just spits out, it could be this, could be that, could be
Yeah.
that, could be that. And then we as humans say, oh, that's an interesting
Yes.
way of looking
And so,
at it. The machine doesn't know.
and the creativity is in our exercise of judgment based on its output, not its output.
We ask it to provide several answers, and then we...
Absolutely. Yes, 100%.
So it is a kind of from judgment creativity.
A prejudgment creativity. It is something that can enable your creativity, right? It's a fantastic solution for the blank page problem. That if an undergrad in your unit has no idea how to start an essay, it can give it a pretty shitty first essay that the undergrad can then take and edit. That's great. But that's not creativity. That is a substrate upon which that undergraduate can then exercise their creativity. Discern.